welcome back to Stitches and Stories. I have missed you all. Did you all think I was dead? I'm not dead. I just got a pretty much full-time job, and I have been busy, busy, busy. And so I have not had the motivation to sit down during my free time to make these videos. I'm gonna be honest. I have been spending my free time crocheting and watching stories about like survival stories and stuff like on YouTube. They're not really survival stories. Most of the time, the people die in them. Kyle hates hiking. I've been watching him. If you follow him, I've been into that. My green dot is on, so theoretically, you should hear me. All right. My hair is crazy because it's stormed and it's frizzy and there's humidity, and I don't want to put anything in it. And so, you get this today. Homeless Ashley, kind of homeless. Homeless. I did change clothes for you. Be happy about that. I miss you all. If you are new here, I am WA Ashes. This page is where we do all things cyber art and talk about books. And so today we are actually going to talk about Jurassic Park, #1. There are two. I've read both, but we're going to probably start with #1. I don't know if we're going to do #2 today. And while we do that, I am going to work on this blanket for Amber Kushner. I still have not figured out how to get my middles of my squares to lay exactly flat. I think I screwed up, as you can tell by the slight twist, but I think it's still looking good, and I'm going to put hearts on it at the end. So I am using a double crochet on this with size 9mm hook. I went and got a fancy hook from Hobby Lobby because it was hurting my hands. I gotta find my stitch marker. There it is. So, I think I had started this blanket as single crochet. I couldn't remember. But when I did the double crochet, it looked right. So, maybe. Hold on just a sec. I'm looking at this real quick. Yeah, it's a double. Because there are 2 stitches there, not just one. So, alright, I'm going to take this off, my stitch marker, slip my hook in, and then we will be good to go. If I turn my blanket. There are children around my house. If you hear them, ignore them. They should not be on screen, though, hopefully. So, our book today is Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park. Crichton? I think it's Crichton. So, I went into this book with only one thing on my mind. I said I want this book to make me feel like I did when I was 10 years old and first watched the movie. Meaning, I wanted this book to make me scared of T-Rexes. And so I was like, as long as this book makes me scared of being eaten by a dinosaur again, that's all I want from this book. I got that in a way. I had thriller-like dreams. They're not nightmares because I mean, I didn't wake up terrified, but I had thriller-like dreams of dinosaurs. Sorry guys, my head just said Michael Jackson Thriller, and I just had this image of velociraptors doing the dance in my head. But anyway, I did dream of several velociraptors, and so that was good. But I'm going to read you what I actually wrote on Goodreads because it's been a while since I read this book, and then I will talk about the points that I make in the actual review, alright? Okay. I read this after watching the movie, and the two are basically separate entities. Though you can tell the movie was inspired by the book has much more action. Double the T-Rex there is. There's like 2 T-Rexes in here. There's a full-size one and a juvenile one, okay? And it has more gore. In the case of gore, though, I think it was pretty beige. Okay, we're going to pause there. Beige, we've talked about this before. Beige writing is pretty much straight to the point. I thought that there'd be way more description of the gore in this book because it was a sci-fi thriller and horror book, but even though there's gory scenes, there's not much description. And I go on to say in this interview, which I'll read in a second, it's like there's this scene where our bad guy, the one who ultimately triggers the failing. No, let's not say that. Ultimately exposes the already failing. How do I want to word this? Okay, so the park was already failing before everyone got here, alright? Like, we find out in the novel and stuff that the velociraptors have already escaped several times. And so even though the people are like, oh, they're not escaping, no dinosaurs are escaping, they have already proven to escape several times, and they are now breeding in the wild, alright? Which is weird to them because all the dinosaurs are manufactured to be female. However, they were manufactured with frog DNA. And I am going to explain this concept because if you are not into science and you may not know this little tiny piece of information, okay? But it is important for the book and it's not actually explained until the end of the book. But some frogs have the ability to change their gender, all right? Same with hermit crabs and things like that. This is a natural occurrence in nature. Certain animals can do this, all right? So, by putting the frog DNA in these dinosaurs, they manufactured them all to be female, but they had that gene where they could change. And so then some of them were changing to be male, and then they had open breeding in the wild, like with the velociraptors, when they were escaping. Okay? But our main dude, John Hammond, didn't want to admit all the failures. That's it. They don't want to admit all the failures of his park, and so he hid this. All right, and it's not. He didn't know that they were openly breeding because he was still under the impression that they were all female. But he is still a bad guy. Okay, like he is not a hero. He is not the loving grandfather that they try to kind of portray him as in the movie. They don't fully succeed in the movie, obviously, but he is very much a villain in this book. All right, and so the park is already failing, and then in comes Nedry, and Nedry is hired to steal some of the DNA from this park. So when he does that, he has his own systems, and he's gonna shut them down temporarily so he can take these to the dock, yada yada, right? But it ultimately all backfires on him, and the park that was already failing goes into massive crisis mode. All right. Ian Malcolm, he basically explains it in here and says that it was already doomed from the start. Nedry was just the catalyst that actually started its downfall. Like, he is not actually responsible for Jurassic Park failing. He's just responsible for shutting down the security system. All right. But because of that, he goes out and he encounters is it a Dilophosaurus? It's the ones that spit venom and they have the big frillies. Okay? As a kid, I thought those were so cool. They weren't my favorite dinosaur, but I thought they were cool. I'm going to admit I liked them for their colors. But in here he counters that, and then there's a scene where he literally, it says that he looked down and realized he was holding his intestines in his hand. That is a sentence, okay? That is low-key beige for this book. And it is beige because of the fact that they don't go into detail on what the intestines look like. We're not told what it feels like. We're just told this is what it is, okay? Hold on a second. I told you to handle it. You know how. Go. Sorry, little child. So anyway, so there's that, and then there's like a scene in the beginning where we are told that a midwife goes in to check on a baby, and it says she could tell already by the way that the baby looked that the baby was dead. But they didn't actually go into details on how the baby looked, okay? And so it tells us things, but it doesn't tell us a lot. It doesn't go into massive description. And I wonder if he did it on purpose. Like I put in here, the description wasn't overly descriptive, but overall I think the horror feeling contributed to this book is ultimately due to a thriller atmosphere that is caused by this beige writing, okay? I enjoyed the book, but I was surprised because Crichton spent 2 pages explaining what chaos theory was, but then didn't actually show us things like the death of Ed, and we just found out after. Could he have chosen to do this to heighten the thrill of the story? Shorter sentences in literature equals more intense atmosphere, because our view is limited in a way. So was Crichton purposely putting blinders on his readers so that you only got these shorter sentences, this shorter, quick fill atmosphere without all this description so that you felt rushed, kind of. I said overall, I liked this book and I would be picking up The Lost World. I did pick up The Lost World. I do want to talk about one more thing about this book before we go. Muldoon. I'm going to be honest. The first time I saw this movie, I hated him. I was a kid. I thought he had villain vibes to me, and I was like, Muldoon is the villain. He is not. Muldoon is the most sane person in this entire book. He is the only person, I think, who is sane in this book. Okay, he flat out tells them, he says, hey, these velociraptors are more cunning than you think. Hey, these velociraptors have advanced hunting tactics like humans, okay? They don't just hunt you, they play with their food. And everyone's like, we can do this, we're fine. And then the velociraptors ultimately cause a ton of chaos because Muldoon was right. Okay, now here's a difference here. There are different deaths in this book than there are in the movie, and different ways of death. In the book, Malcolm is severely injured. My brain tells me that the scene where he's injured is not quite right, okay? But that's just me. I had a few hard times imagining some of the descriptions of the T-Rex in here, and I don't know if it was just because we now know more about T-Rexes, or because I literally can't picture a T-Rex sitting down or wagging its tail. Like, it just seemed weird to me. Like, anytime I tried to picture it, I just got like Barney the dinosaur vibes where he got creases in his suit if he sat down, that kind of thing. And so, but there's a scene where the T-Rex attacks Malcolm and bites Malcolm's leg. Malcolm's leg is severely injured. And I believe it's from a bite. It's implied that it's from a bite, but again, there's not much description, so maybe it was from a claw. But if a T-Rex bit your leg, wouldn't you lose the leg, like, entirely? That's what my brain says. My brain says there's no more leg. The leg is gone. Alright? But Malcolm still had his leg. And it got really infected, and he spent the entire book in the, hospital area. They made it a hospital. It was just a dormitory. But he spent the entire book dying, okay? And he does die in this book, which we will talk about more in the second book, because I am low-key pissed at you, Crichton. I mean, I did it too. I did it too, so I can't be mad. I wish I hadn't done it. But mine is, I wish I had never killed the character first, not the part afterwards, okay? But we'll talk about that in The Lost World, okay? But Malcolm ultimately dies in here, and he's not a hero, okay? He is portrayed as the opposite of John Hammond, but he got injured from the T-Rex while running away, okay? He wasn't saving the children. He wasn't saving Grant or anyone. He got injured running away. He got scared and panicked and ran, which seemed like a valid human response in that situation. All right. But in the movie, he is a hero. Grant, and Ellie are like the main characters. They are the heroes. All right. And so that death is different. And then Muldoon dies in the movie. Well, it's implied that he dies in the movie. We see the velociraptor hunting her, and we get that line, clever girl. Muldoon's a him. But in the book, he's one of the last that survive. And it's because he knows what he's up against. He's not underestimating these animals. And like they're like, oh, they're genetically engineered. We're fine. And he's like, they're genetically engineered, but they're engineered with their DNA and other animal DNA. You are making predators. You need to respect that. So that death is different because dies in the movie, doesn't in the book. The kids are different. In the movie, the girl is older, the boy is younger. In the book, the boy is older, the girl is younger, and the girl is annoying. She really freaking is. I did see this comment, and I want to touch on it too. Someone said that kids don't belong in horror books because they get in the way. That's the point, I think. Okay? Children in our species, like our species is designed to take care of our young, right? So if you put children in a horror atmosphere, like, okay, so Nick, hold on just a second. If someone comes in and tries to rob the house and it's just me, I'm more likely to do more dangerous crap than if I have a child. Because if you have a child, you have to think, if you do this, what's that going to happen? What is that going to affect the child? It changes your entire game plan. Because you're no longer focusing on you, you're focusing on protecting these little ones who are not able to do all the things you can. Because, yeah, you might get away, but then the child's behind. Or if the child gets away, you're going to be behind. Okay? And so I actually like that the children were in here. They are brought in simply because John Hammond is trying to save his reputation. And he wants everyone to think he's a great grandfather. But he literally does not look for his grandchildren at all. He is aware that they are being hunted in the park by a T-Rex and by velociraptors. And he is over in the freaking dormitories enjoying his ice cream and not caring. He's just like, oh, they'll be fine. Jerk. You ever think that maybe your children's marriage's issues might become because you were an awful person and didn't teach them how to behave, like how to be adults? Because we don't actually know why the children's parents are getting divorced, so I probably should say that. But we know that their family life is not good. He flat out tells them it's messy, alright? But can we trust anything that John Hammond says, either? Another death. John Hammond lives in the movie. John Hammond dies in the book. I wish he had a more gruesome death. He deserved to die in the book. In the book, he is ultimately poisoned and eaten by compies, these little tiny dinosaurs that swarm. And when they bite you, they release a paralyzing toxin. And so they paralyze you, and then they slowly eat you alive. Okay? So he does have a death in here. And he dies, ironically, only a few yards away from his home on the island. So a few yards away from safety. And he dies. And I do not feel bad for him at all. Another difference in the books is at the end of the book, they napalm the whole island. They destroy it. Complete destroy. In the movies, we go back and take dinosaurs a few times from this island. But they destroy the island. The military is called in. Muldoon calls the military, and the military comes in and bombs the crap out of this island. So ultimately, I gave this book 4 stars because I had wished for more descriptions, but it was good. I did enjoy it. The Lost World was not so lucky for me. So if you're looking for a fun summer read that's got thriller, man versus nature vibes, I would recommend Jurassic Park. It was a fun read. I did enjoy it. I listened to the audiobook of it. I didn't actually read it. I did check out the book, but then I ended up getting the audiobook because there's so many big scientific-y words. And I'd rather hear them than have to figure out what they are. I know. Sometimes I got lazy in my old age. Don't blame me. So anyway, that is Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park, 4 stars. The next review we will do will be The Lost World. This book has already been added to our yearly book blanket. I am 16 books behind schedule because I have not been reading. I'm going to be honest, reading is actually not my main priority right now, it's writing. So, I love you all. I hope you have a great day and a great weekend. Mwah. Kisses from Ashes. Have a wonderful weekend, my beautiful, beautiful, beautiful souls. Bye!